Hello and welcome to Fielded Hub. Now, one of our other brand name is Address Collection and Fielded Couture on Facebook. Today, this is what we are going to make. It's a beaded vase, and this one was made with blue and white. It can be used for your home decoration or offices. Today, these are the types of beads we are going to use as the color. We are going to use champagne and then wine color to make our beaded vase. Now the fishing line I used was 0.6 mm, and then obviously we need our scissors. These are the only things we need in making the beaded vase. I made that base because I realized that although it's firm, it's tempted to move left or right if placed at a place that is not that smooth. We'll be looking at rings. So rings basically looks at the number of beads that you are likely to form in a shape or in the form of a ring. Today we are going to use rings of 4, that is beads 4 that has been stringed together as a unit. Then we move to 5 rings of 5, and then the last one is rings of 4. So that was what I was trying to explain. That's the ring of 4. The second step is the rings of 5. And then the last one is the rings of 4 again. So these are what we are going to use in today's lesson. So whatever be the case, just know that the first one you are going to string 4 beads, the next 5, and the last 4. So I also use 4 to fill the sides, rings of 4 to fill the side, and at the top I made use of what? Rings of 5 and then rings of 7. That is odd numbers to give it that sort of effect. So I added the rings of 7 for math design or opening of the flower vase. So that is all you need to know about today's design. So we start off by picking 4 beads. So you cut a considerate length of the fishing line. I do not measure anyway, because if it's not enough I can still add on. So you cut a considerable length, and then we start with the gold one. I pick 4, I string them. So that is the first ring. So you insert the 3 and then you come in with the last one. Now with this you have 2 options. You can do it this way and pull it down to get the first ring of 4 beads, or the other way, which I usually love because it makes it firm and the work comes out neat, and you form a loop with one particular fishing line and then you come through with the other one. Now when you come through with the other one, you make sure that the knot that is likely to form, that is their meeting point, will be in the middle of that bead. So now we already have 1 bead there, so we're only going to add 3 beads to it to get 4 beads. So you use the last one, and then as I said, this is the type I am used to, that is the loop. It makes it firm. So you are going to make 4 or 5 different rings. So we've done 2, depending on the size you want anyway. So we've done 2, this is the 3rd one. So I pick 3 beads again. That will make the 4th one. So I have 3 there. I need 5 in all, so I form another one. That is the last but one. And then I push it through this way. So for the last one, that is the 5th ring, I will pick only 2 beads, meaning I need only 2 beads to add. Now I used my other fishing line, that is the one in my right hand. I push it through the first bead I picked when I started, meaning I have 2 beads already on the fishing line. And then I pick 2 beads. The last one will be the one I'll use to form the loop. So this becomes our base. So I have 5 different rings of 4 as the base. Now we are moving on to rings of 5. Mind you, the fishing line is coming out of 1 bead. With this design, you can decide as to how you want the colors to be mixed, but this is how I wanted mine. So I'll pick 4 wine beads in order to add to the gold 1. Then now it becomes what, 5 after I have formed my loop. So that is how you see me doing it. Then I push my rice fishing line through the next gold bead, meaning I already have 2 beads. The fishing line is coming out of 2 beads, meaning I need 3 to add to the 2 beads to get the loop of 5 beads. I've already said that the first one is 4, the second one is rings of 5 beads. So I'll repeat this process till I get to the last gold bead. So you go through the next gold bead on your right fishing line, and then you pick 3 as usual, 3 of the ones. So when you get to this final point, you go through 2 of the gold beads. 2 of the gold beads. So this is the last point. You go through just 1 of the gold bead. You go through just 1 of the gold bead. You pick 2 of the beads, and then you use the last one to serve as the connection between those beads to seal it. So with the last gold bead, you go through the gold bead there with your rice fishing line, and then you go through the wine bead too. That is where you started from. The wine bead where you started from. Yeah, so meaning you already have 3. And I've already told you it's all rings of 5. So every ring should be up to 5. So if I have 3, I only need 2. Meaning 1 will be put there, and then the other one will be used to what? Cross. That is form the loop, and then push the other fishing line through to secure it, to make it look like one basic unit. So you should have something like this at this point. So we are done with the rings of 4 and the rings of 5. Now we move on to the next one, which happens to be another set of rings of 4. So we work on that. But with that one, after we've gone through the entire thing, so with that one we just go through a bead. So wine bead, the fishing line is coming through 1 out of 1. So we only need 3 to add up in order to get the 4 beads that we want, the rings of 4 that we need. So this is the first one. That is why I am picking 3 beads. So I've already inserted the 2 on my left fishing line, and I'm forming the last one. I'm attaching the last one to cross the 2 fishing line that I am using. So you move on to the next wine bead. Now mind you, it means the fishing line is in 2 beads, 2 of the wine beads. So I only need 2 beads in order to form my rings of 4. So that is it. Just as we've been doing, you form the loop with 1 fishing line, and you go through with the other one. You drag it to make sure that it's firm, and the knot that is formed automatically by the loop format must be in the middle of that bead that the loop is formed in. So you go through the next bead, and still it means the fishing line is coming out of these 2 beads. That is the wine beads, meaning we need only 2 beads to add up to form a ring of 4 beads. So you continue till you get to the other end. You just follow this format, because every ring formed here is expected to be made up of 4 beads. So work on it, and let's meet when you finish with it. Yeah, so sometimes you notice that because you are using 1 fishing line to form the loop, one usually becomes shorter than the other. So when I want the longer part to be in my left hand, that is where the loop is usually formed and the beads are inserted, I only use the base one, that is where you cross the two fishing line in the middle bead, so that the longer part will now be in your left hand, or the hand that's you usually use to pick the beads, not the one you just go through the base bead with, no. So after that, I had enough to weave to the other end. So let's meet there. So we are almost through with it. We are almost through with it. Yeah, so my fishing line became shorter, so I had to secure this one in order to continue with a new one. So this time around, I decided I wasn't going to form the loop or the knot in the last one, that is the second bead I pick on my left hand, but rather in the one that I had already the one that I passed through, that is the base of 5, the rings of 5, because with that one it's already done. So I formed the loop in that one. So instead of the fishing line coming out of that one to connect with the other one, I formed the loop. So right after I insert it, I turn it back to form the loop there, and then I cross it with the fishing line that I've picked the 2 beads on. So in this case, the loop isn't formed with in the left hand, but rather in the right hand, that is through the bead that I just entered. And now this is how you secure it. If you want your work to be neat, you don't tie a knot, you continue weaving the fishing line through till it becomes short or shorter, then you cut it off. Or in extreme cases, there wouldn't even be a need for you to cut off, but then you pass it through to make sure that the work is firm. That is one advantage of doing this. And the second advantage is that you don't waste your fishing line. So it gets to a length that you know you can't use to complete your work, but then also cutting off becomes more of a waste of resources. So I weave it through to make sure that the work is firm and neat. So that is what you can see me. Sometimes it's difficult to push through because I use 0.6 and in extreme cases 0.7, and because of the loop actually forms a knot sort of in the middle of the bead, that is inside the bead, so sometimes it becomes difficult. But because I wanted to finish with my entire work, I left it. Usually I leave it after I've weaved for some time. I leave it because I want to make sure that I've weaved everything in. So I leave it and then I cut a new fishing line to continue with my work. Then after I am done with everything, I come back and weave to make sure that it's firm. So now I'm going in for my fishing line. That is a new length, a new piece altogether. I go in for it. I cut a considerable length. But if you are a beginner or you are now about to try it, kindly cut a long fishing line to avoid these joinings there, because sometimes it makes the work a little bit tedious as you have to weave through for a long time. So I'm going to continue from where I ended. So you realize always we have the fishing line in 2 beads, that is 1 where the rings of 4 ends, and then we go through 1 of the beads in the rings of 5. So after picking my new fishing line, I'll still make sure that the fishing line is coming through those 2 beads, or it's moving in those 2 beads. And now I'm going to continue picking 2 beads on my left fishing line. That is, 1 is the normal one and the second one is the one I used to form the loop in order to get the rings of 4. So that is what you see me doing. And don't worry, it won't fall off, it won't remove, because we've secured the other one, that is the one we just finished, the shorter one. We've made sure that we've secured it, so there's no need for you to worry about it falling off. So now I'll continue with my business, what I was doing, and then when I am through, I now move on to the second part. And we have two phases. We have the first phase and we have the second phase. That is the two sides. So what I am doing, I would have to do another one. So that will be either the back or the front, and this can be the other way around, the other side. So I'll continue, but then when I get to the last bead, that is the rings of 5, the last bead on the rings of 5, because I want it to be 1 unit, I'll go through the usual bead, that is the one on my right hand, the rings of 5, and go up again through the bead that I use to start the rings of 4, meaning the fishing line will automatically be in 3 beads. And how many beads do you think I will need at this stage to add up to the 3 to get the 4? Obviously it's 1. So with this one, we just form the loop straight away, and then that's it. So we have come to the end of forming the main base of our flower vase. So this is how it looks. But then, so you realize I've already done the other one, but then we need that upper part, that is, we have to fix about 3. Yes, it's rings of 4, but then we need 3 layers. So as you've seen, so that one can be the opening of the flower vase. So with that one, you can decide to use your wine color or gold color, but I had enough wine color, so I decided to use the wine color. So it's going to be 3 by 2, meaning the length, as in its long, the number of lines will be 3. The rings, 4 rings of 4, but then it will be in 3 different layers, and then the width will be 2 different layers. So that is what you see me doing. So this is the first one of the width, so I'm just doing 2. You can decide to make it 3 or 4, but I am used to the 2, so I form another one again, ring of 4. We are still on the rings of 4, so you just watch carefully how I'm going about it, and it shouldn't be that difficult to follow through. So that is the first layer. That is, I'm making the opening now, so that's the first layer. We move on to the second layer. It always rings of 4, so whichever way, you have to make sure the ring is 4. The beads on the ring is 4. So that is the second layer I am working on. Afterwards, I move on to the third layer. And I've already done the other part, so meaning it will be left with the middle part that joins them together. So this is the second one. Okay, so this is the second layer. So that's the second layer. Yes. So that is it. So it's left with the third layer. I already said that the layers in terms of length will be 3. But if you want it to be cute, I think later I changed it to 2 layers because it was for an office space and it didn't need to take up most of the space there. So I later changed it to just 2 layers. But 3 layers is the standard for almost all the flower vases I've made. I always made sure that for the opening length or side, it was always 3. So you can use the 3 if you have enough beads, 1, and you want it to be big. Let's say you are using it as a decorative item in the house, you can just use the 3. So this is how I end it. That is forming the layers for the opening. So now I have the 2, but I have to secure it. I have to join them And how do I do that? I now decide to what? Make rings of 4 to form the middle part. So rings of 4. So that's the front and the back, meaning it's left with the middle side. And it's after we are done with the middle side that we will be able to handle the opening, that is the design at the top. Yeah, so I have 1, 2. You have to count the parts that is coming out, the beads that are showing on your base, that is the front and the back. So on the sides, that is the rings of 4 we made. You have to count the bead that is protruding, coming out. So you just look at how I counted. 1, 2. I count those beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was around 22. Yes, so you realize I had reduced it to the 2 layers at the opening. And now I'm going to make the rings of 4. But I wanted to make sure that the beads doesn't fall off. So I'm going to use my gold beads to make that. Rings of 4, you are used to it, so you can watch the video and follow through with the rings, how they are formed and how you join one to the other. And then it's left with 1. So now I drag it to the middle, and then I take my fishing line in my left hand, I flip it around, and then I get this loop. I come through with the fishing line on my right hand, and then I draw it this way. So you have to count these ones here to get the total number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I have 22 that I need towards cater for. So I have 22, and that is what I'm going to use. Purpose. Okay. And your phone room na ya na atoso. What the light in the back side there? Any rubber post. Okay, okay, I'm the baby. You will finish. Why? Today, me, you can't pa. Oh, your mama. You, mama, no, about my heavy. Yes, so I'm saying if. Okay, so I am sure you've been able to follow through to this end. So now we have to move to the opening part, that is how to make the opening. For the opening, we usually consider odd numbers. So I'm trying to finish it off. You realize I have a lot of fishing line pieces. Like I said, it's when I'm done with everything that I try to weave everything inside to make sure the work is neat. But for now, because I was in a hurry to finish this video, I actually left them that when I'm done, when I'm through with everything, I'll now weave them in. So I'm going to make the opening. And as I was saying, we usually make use of odd numbers and not even. By even numbers, I mean 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. No, we are not going to make use of those ones because with that, it will be difficult to achieve the kind of opening that we want. So you you can move with the odd numbers, that is 3, 5, 7. I have never used 3 because the rings that these ones are going to be attached to is rings of 4, meaning it will make it look weird. And you could tell that I was having a challenge trying to weave these ones inside. And I've already explained this, that sometimes it's difficult. So you can get a safety pin or something like that. Sometimes I insert it, I push it through the hole so that it paves way for the fishing line. Or whilst the fishing line is coming out, because the spaces in between the rings that are formed are quite tight or small, it becomes difficult for you as a person to reach the fishing line, that is the tip, to pull it out. So you need some of these things around. Realize with the first one, with the second one, I was trying to use a pen, but if care is not taken and it writes on the bead, it might also cause your work not to look that presentable. So I'm still trying to make sure that it's firm and tight because I'm going to build another layer on top of it. So I had a lot of beads. That is one from the 2 bases I formed and the one I just weaved or attached to the middle, that is to form the middle. So I was trying to consider which of them to use, which of them is longer and can probably carry me through the opening that I wanted to design. So if you find this challenging, you can just weave everything back in and cut a new length of the fishing line purposely for the opening, and that's also a great idea, especially if you're a beginner, so that you wouldn't have to stress yourself and now trying to figure out whether it will be enough or not. So you can consider that part too. So I picked the first one, and I was trying to draw your attention to the fact that we are going to be making rings of 5. Yeah, so rings of 5. I pick my fishing line, and most of the time, once you've started the work, obviously the fishing line, if it has 2 ends, it means it's coming out of either a bead or 2. So with this one, it was coming out of just 1 bead, so I picked 4 beads, so that when it comes, it's added to the one that the fishing line is coming out of, it will be 5. So out of the 4 beads that I picked, I pushed 3 through my left fishing line and formed the loop with the 4th one. So that is it. I'll continue doing that to the very end. So you realize I have 5 beads. Then I move on to the next one. Now when I push my fishing line through the right bead from the base, you realize now the fishing line is coming out of 2 beads, meaning I need only 3 to add up to make the 5 rings, 5 rings that I need. That is beads to form the rings of 5 beads that I need. So that is it for this particular one. You continue till you get to the other end. The shape will start coming, or will start showing, but then it shows best after you finished with this one and you are done with the second one too. So just follow through with how I am going about it, and I'm sure you are likely to achieve what the final look looks like. Thank you. So we've made it to the last part. Now it's left with just 1 bead on the base, and the fishing line is already coming out of 1. So you go through the 1 bead from the base, that is the first part we did, and then you push it through the next bead on the first ring of 5 we formed, meaning the fishing line will be coming out of 3 beads, and we only need 2 beads to add up to it to get what the 5 beads we want. And this is how it looks like in the end. But I realized my fishing line was short now, so I followed the procedure I mentioned earlier. I went back through the bead on the right fishing line, and rather the one in my left hand came through that loop that was formed using the fishing line in my right hand. So I tried to secure it. You can slow it down, zoom, if you're a little bit confused about what I'm saying, but we've done this earlier, so I'm sure it wouldn't be much of a challenge. So I tried to weave it back in to make sure it's firm in order for me to continue with the next layer, that is the rings of 7 beads, because this is 5 and the next odd number is 7. So now I'm still trying to tighten it, make sure that it is firm so that I can continue with the last but one phase, that is the rings of 7. That is 7 beads coming together to form a ring. So this is the ring of 7 I'm talking about. If you count, you realize that there are 7 in all. Yes. So now that I don't have a fishing bead, I would have to cut a considerable length of it. And one thing is, I'm going to push it through 2 beads. With this one, you can start anywhere at all because I'm starting afresh. And no matter the place you start, you are going to have to make sure the ring you are forming is made up of 7. Looking at how the beads are closely aligned to each other, we are going to pass through 2 beads. So initially we were passing through a bead each, but with this phase we will pass through 2 beads each, that is of the already formed parts, that is the base, and in this case is the rings of 5 we made earlier. So I pass through 2. I want to make sure the rings are 7, but then I also want or have a particular design in mind. So I'll first pick the gold one, and then I pick 3 wine colors. I pick a gold one again, making it 7, because we already have 2 that the fishing line is going through, meaning I need 5 beads extra. So I picked 1 gold, 3 wine, and the last gold is the one that I'm going to make the knot in. And when I'm through, I'll still go through 2 beads again using my right fishing line. And with that, meaning I'll have the fishing line in 3 beads and I'll only need 4 beads. And out of the 4 beads, I'll pick wine on my left one, and I'll pick wine, 3 wine on my left hand or fishing line, and then lock it with 1 gold. So it's still 4 beads. I'll continue doing that till I get to the last part. And when you watch the video, you realize we end it as we always do. So it shouldn't be much of a problem. This is my design. You can choose to just use 1 color, especially if it's your first time, so that you understand the whole procedure before you try to make your own design out of it. And this flower vase can be used for different purposes. It can even be used as a pen holder, toothbrush holder, anything at all. It can be used to decorate your house, your office, any space at all that you wish to add a touch of class or color to. And I hope you enjoy doing it. So I'll continue till I get to the end. My numbers in the very. So this is me at the end. When you get to the end, you realize you have 2 beads you are passing through, and then there is the gold bead we started with, meaning the fishing line will be going through 4 beads and you only need 3, so the 3 will be our wine beads. And because it's the final phase, we wouldn't form our loop on our right fishing line, but then we'll do it on our left fishing line. That is the fishing line that is already passing through the base, in order to lock it. So when you finish, you weave it back through the base to make sure that it's firm and that it doesn't frill easily or the beads doesn't fall off easily. So that's the final look. Now the only thing left is for us to weave the fishing line back through to make sure that everything is firm and nice. And we have a nice piece of beaded accessory that you would absolutely love. But then one thing I noticed with time was the fact that sometimes if it's not a smooth surface, it becomes a little bit difficult for it to stand on its own, looking at how the base is. So after you are done passing everything through, you then going to consider making a stand. That one, it's absolutely optional. It's optional, it's not compulsory, and I must say that it requires a lot of patience and time with that particular part. So let's continue passing it through and then we move on to the base. With that one, you have to position the item in such a way that you get to identify the parts that will be suitable for you making the stands. So I brought the old one for you to know how it looks like. Yes, so that's the part we are going to consider. And then follow the video if you want to come out to the same results. wrong place. So we also better say, my wrong place. I'm going to send me the middle. Oh, they make what do they make an answer? Cindy, purpose. And ta-da! This is the final look. I hope you're able to achieve it just as it has been shown in the video.